Hello, this is Haley Luritzen. I'm one of the instructors in the Department of Social Work. And I am going to be doing this video today on how to create your field journal in Sonia. This is applicable for both BSW and MSW students, as the form that we use in Sonia is the same for both programs. The content in which you write will be different. I'll explain that in just a minute, but just know that the forms are similar, so this video is appropriate for both. As you can see, I'm still logged in here under Amber Lee to demonstrate how to create your field journal. So I would again click on the Forms button, and I'm going to find the form that I'm wanting to edit. So for this video, we're looking at the field journal. So I would come over here and click the edit button to get to her journal. And you'll see when that opens here in just a moment, that's going to pop open the field journal here in Sonia with some instructions for completing the journal. Now, very similar, those of you that have completed journals with us using Blackboard in the past, you're going to notice a lot of similarity. Because we decided to keep a lot of the same structure in what we do. It's just formatted a little bit different. So you're going to come in for week 1, and you'll again click on this little box here for the calendar. It'll open up and you can put the date. So this is for July 4th. I just clicked on that. Okay. So then what I want to do is I want to come over here and I'm going to list the competencies that I have addressed. And so I would pick any of these that we addressed during that week that I worked on. So maybe we did go through the first one of demonstrating ethical and professional behavior. I might have tackled that competency this week, as well as engaging with individuals, families, groups, organizations, and communities. Now, just because I'm clicking these here that I have addressed these competencies doesn't mean that I've completed them on my learning plan or that I, marked off any tasks on my learning plan or on any assignments. This really is just looking at the competencies that you have discussed, that you've talked about, that you've worked on, that you have worked on engaging with families and individuals. You've maybe had a conversation about ethical and professional behavior. So you can click whatever is appropriate here. If by chance you didn't address any competencies, you can come over here and click did not accrue practicum hours. Maybe you weren't there that week and so you didn't do anything. And that would let us know that that's why nothing is checked. You'll also see here, number 10, practice effectively within a rural social work context. This is for MSW students only, so no BSW students should ever be clicking this 10th competency. BSW students, we only have 9 competencies, so you'll be checking number 1 through 9. And you'll do that throughout the whole semester, letting us know which competencies you've been working on and what you've been completing. And you'll remember, those of you that maybe did this the old-fashioned way, you had to write this out. So luckily now you're not writing anything out. It's just a simple click of what you did for that week. Then you're going to come over and it's time to summarize your experience that week in your internship. And so you can do this one of 2 ways. Because we have students submit journals weekly, however, your summary still needs to be daily. You can come in and say on July 4th, and this is my summary, BSW, or you might say MSW, intern arrived at internship and identified, a client in crisis, something like this, right? So this is where you would go through and you use professional writing in your summary to explain in social work terms what you did that day at your internship. This is not writing things as I didn't do much today, I was bored today, I just filed all day long. Things of that nature are not going to be accepted in your summary of your experience. We are using this as an opportunity to have you practice your professional documentation skills. And it shows professionalism when you can look at a situation at your internship and summarize it using social work terms. So let's say you did just sit around in meetings all day. Let's say that was your day. Some days are like that. We have meetings all day long. So I want you to think beyond, I sat and observed meetings all day, and think about some of the skills that you observed. It might be BSW was in meetings all day. However, it provided an opportunity to observe interdisciplinary practice. It provided you an opportunity to watch engagement skills between a client and their family. Or maybe it provided you an opportunity to speak up and provide some input on a situation that maybe you're familiar with, that another case manager may not be familiar with, whatever the case may be. Think beyond, I sat in meetings, and what did you observe? What did you learn? What did you take in? What's your takeaway for that day? Summarize your experience. Once you've done that, you can go on and do your next day, right? So if you have more than, maybe you were there also on 7-6, you can do this, and you can write the same thing, BSW or MSW student, and then whatever you did. Then you're going to come over to the analysis of your experience. Now, this is different than the summary, which we're requesting professional documentation here. I tell my students I don't allow first-person writing in this part. So I don't say, I went into work today. Under the summary, I always identify as the BSW or MSW intern, and everything is written in third person because that's the professional documentation you will need to practice in the field. When you're talking about your analysis, though, of your experience, these are your thoughts and your feelings. This is where you can express yourself using I statements. However, this is not your personal diary. We are not looking for you to express your displeasure with your field instructor, or your maybe your displeasure with your internship in general. We're not looking for any type of that personal information. This is still professional documentation. But what it does is it allows you as the student to reflect on your experiences and really get into those gut level reactions to say, I was really uncomfortable in that moment when my field instructor asked me in front of the team of therapists or the team of social workers, what I thought about this client. It put me on the spot, and I felt really uncomfortable speaking up in public in that moment. And maybe I need to identify why that was uncomfortable for me and challenge myself to say, maybe I need to put myself in more situations where I'm forced to speak up so that I become comfortable talking in front of groups of people. That would be an appropriate use of your analysis of your experience, where it's really taking this inward dive in how you felt throughout your experience of your internship that day. You would do very similar, the same thing for the dates, to separate those as you would in your analysis. You also have the opportunity, I said there's two ways to do this. You could do it this way if you want, or you could come in before the week is over and just summarize each day like I'm doing here. Or you can come in, let's say the 4th just finished and we did this day here, and we write our analysis up. So we do our analysis for 7/4/21. We do that. We did not have supervision here today, so we can just leave this alone and we can save it as a draft. So Monday, I come in, I do my journaling, and I do my analysis and all that. I just save it. Then Wednesday, I'm going to come back in, and that's when I will come add 7/6, and I will journal for today as as July 6th, and do the same thing over here. So you have to submit your journal once a week, and the due dates, check with your course instructor to find out when the due dates are. All students are required to have supervision for each week that they're in field. So again, you would come in here, click the date that you had supervision within that week, might have been Thursday the 8th, and you would identify what your a summary of your supervision. The summary of your supervision really kind of recaps what you have talked about in terms of your learning plan and your competencies, talking about ethics and values, cultural competence, all of that that should be happening with your supervisor each week. You would just summarize in here. Then again, you just hit your Journal 1 submission on whatever the due date is that you submit it, and this will send automatically to your course instructor. Your course instructor is going to get your journal, they'll review it, and then they can write feedback in here and send it back to you so that you can go on and do week 2 and submit your journal for week 2, and so on. That just continues for every week. You'll notice that there are points associated per journal. We are going to be grading journals. It is not going to be graded in terms of, you know, the content that you write, but course instructors have been instructed to, based on these examples up here of what's acceptable and what's not, you will either get 2 points for a journal being acceptable and written, you know, professional documentation, good detail, and submitted on time would be the full 2 points. And if you did not complete your journal on time, or if it was, you know, not accurate or not appropriate for whatever reason, you will not receive points. And so that's how that will be reflected. I don't think there's anything else on here. At the end, you'll scroll through all of them, and at the end, of course, you'll have opportunities to submit all of your journals once you've gone through each of them. And you'll notice I haven't changed. This says 20 points possible. That's just an error, so I need to go in and still fix some of that, so don't worry about that. But each of them are worth 2 points. At the very end of the semester, when you've completed your internship and you do your final journal, then you would come down and you could submit it for final review, where we will be checking all submissions, your hours, and your supervision to make sure that you've met the requirements for the field program. So that is how you do your journals. It is also really important for me to say that your site contacts, so your field instructors and your task supervisors, do not have access to these journals. These journals are only for you and for your course instructor to review. So, you know, sometimes that is, some students get nervous. They don't want their field instructors or task supervisors to review what they're writing about their experience, and you don't have to worry about that because this is not shared with them. However, students can share and should share any information with their field instructor and task supervisor that is appropriate that they want to, but it will not come from this field journal. So hope that video was helpful, and I'll catch you on the next video.